Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Brandon from Audio Addiction doing a live video for you guys tonight, which I love doing. I love doing them. So, very excited to get into this one. In fear, actually, you know what? The first people that are going to be watching this are going to be the first to know. So, not this week, but the next week, I'll be posting an interview with In Fear. So, I'm very excited to release that one. It was very funny, very goofy, and, I'm pretty sure that Hayden and Ryan were suffering from sleep deprivation because I kept them up pretty late in the UK time. So thank you for joining me. If you are joining me live, awesome. If not, thank you for watching after the fact. I also left links to go check out In Fear. If you have not checked them out, this is going to be the perfect time to check them out because we're going to go through the entire album, one song after another. They have some really cool merch that you can go pick up. If you're a merch guy, much like myself here, I have way too much merch. But, I'm going to support the boys and get something really sick. So you should too, if you feel like you should, or if you want to, that would be great. But, yeah, going to be going through this. Their new album, All Is, All Shall Be, came out on Friday. I was going to do it Friday, but I think I was doing something else at the time and couldn't do it. So, very excited to get into this album, and if you have listened to it, let me know what your favorites are. If you have not listened to it, tell me what your favorites are at the end, because that's always cool. I love to hear other people's favorites. But yeah, very excited to get into this album. I listened to Doom Sequence, Trace My Skin, and I believe that's it. I know that they released a couple singles off of this album, so we're going to go through all of it and very excited. So we're going to start off with their first track, the title, or not title track. There is title tracks on this, which I can't see. But this one is called Shoreline, and it seems like an intro track because it's only a minute and a half. But let's get into it. Also, if you ever cracking, this is me cracking up a cold one. Not alcohol, though. I don't believe in that. This is a seltzer water. I like this dark undertone. Alright, guys, that was Shoreline. Very cool intro. Not too much to go off of in regards to sound. I feel like it gives you a good idea of what's to come. It does very much seem like a darker album. And, all the songs are kind of consistently in the ballpark of around 2 minutes and 11 seconds being the shortest song, and a little under 4.5 minutes being the longest track on the album. This one's 14 songs, which is pretty impressive. I don't feel like, I feel like it's always difficult for bands to release an album with that many songs on it. So again, very excited to kind of go through this and really delve deep into it. And just get a little bit more aware of what's going on. But yeah, overall, very cool, very dark, very ominous. I feel like Hayden's voice kind of just really flows over this song, very like serene. Like I really appreciate kind of the darker, like more minor undertones. I think it meshes well with his voice and what he's able to do with it. But I'm excited to get into some of the heavier stuff because I know they can do heavy. I have listened to a couple of their songs, so I know what they're capable of. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Though again, not too much to go off of, but I think it just kind of gives you this sort of dark, brooding undertone that I'd imagine will kind of make its way in throughout the entirety of the album. So we are going to get it into track number 2, which is All Is, which is the first part of the album. I do also like the fact that the first track is the first part of the album name, and then I don't know why I put air quotations. You obviously can see that first part of the first part of the title, and then the last song is the last part of the title, which I think is very cool and unique. I know there's probably bands that have done it before them, but I like it. It's like that's a cool thing. So we are going to move it into track 2, which is All Is. So let's give it a listen. That like cymbal ride. It's great. What great vocal layering. Holy shit. Interesting. What falsetto? Oh. This layering. Oh, the blast beats. Oh my god, that was so sick. Guys, that was track 2. All Is off of In Fear's newest album, All Is, All Shall Be. I can't, man. This is track 1 already, and I'm already feeling it so hard, and I love that. This is a great track. I think to kind of start off the album, Shoreline gets you in the mode. It gives you a little bit of, it's like, I kind of equate it to, sitting at the like shallow end of the pool. You get in the water, you start to get up to temperature, and then I feel like all is where like you're getting a little deeper, a little bit more towards the middle of the pool, and that's when you like get the full body immersion, So that was a terrible explanation of the song, but I feel like it's the only one I could really kind of go off of for right now. So maybe if I come up with a better one, I'll let you know. But I feel like it segues into a good point, which is just kind of the immersion of the album. I think they do a really good job of just kind of allowing you to make your way into it, and it doesn't feel like it's overbearing in some way, but like as soon as those guitars come in and everything kind of builds into this like this sort of sweeping sound, that's when you get locked in, you're really vibing out, and I was just having a good time. It really again plays off of what I really enjoyed about Shoreline, which is kind of that dark brooding undertone, really makes its way into this song. I do like, I love Hayden's vocals, both on the screaming side of thing as well as the clean vocals. Melodically, I think he chooses things that are atypical from what you hear in metalcore, which I think I really like. It took me a little bit, especially within that first chorus. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it works, but I think kind of like the more off-centerness of it makes it like a little bit more brooding. It makes it a little bit more ominous. It makes it a little bit more like it makes you feel a little bit more uneasy, which I think really adds to the like the depths of the track in some way. And what I mean by that, I think it just kind of allows for those heavier moments to just kind of like just sit a little bit longer and kind of fester in that way. Whereas I felt like maybe with the vocals kind of being a little bit more in line with what you would expect, it may not have that sort of same effect. So I do appreciate that sort of, again, minor, almost like dissonance in some way vocally, that I think really pairs well with those kind of, again, darker undertones of the track. As well as that, I think, technique-wise from practically everyone in this band, I think they do a really good job of having some like really brutal guitars that really amplify that sort of heavy sound, but also at the same point having some like really cool technical proficiencies, being like more blast beats or like rhythmically it might be a little off time, and I think that really again fits well with the narrative of In Fear. That last bit towards the end of the song, so sick. I love the blast beats. That was probably, I'm a sucker for a good blast beat section, so really enjoyed that. And some of the layering going on this track was what really surprised me the most as well too. Like vocally, there was some really cool layering. I think there was one part where there was a clean singing and screaming. I just think that the overall kind of thought process of putting all the songs together in this track, in regards to like the layering and stuff and where it should go, I think it has enough like dimension, it has enough power, and it has this way of like really roping you in, especially after Shoreline, where I didn't think it was a bad song particularly, but I do feel like it kind of gives you that opportunity to really immerse yourself into the album. And I think with a first song off an album, especially for a band that people may not know about, I think this is a great way to kind of rope you in and get you started with the album. And I think it does a pretty good job of kind of giving a good representation of the band. Obviously, not 100% to a T, but I would say it's got the bases covered in regards to the songwriting itself. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. I think I would love to revisit this song just because I will certainly after this review is done, just because my reviewing time is never done and I'll have to do it anyway when the albums of the year come out. So it all comes around. But I do feel like there is this sort of, again, welcoming in this sort of like darker undertone way of into the album and really giving you a good idea of how to feel. But yeah, Really enjoyed this one. This one is definitely going to be one to beat for sure, but we still got 14 more tracks, in total on the album. So, and we're only on track 3, so I feel like we got a little ways to go. But the next song is "Pure as Fire," so let's give it a listen. Feels like very like North Lane, Void Division-y. I like this. Ooh. Actually, a little Tesseract beat. All right, I like this. Interesting melody choice. All right. Oh. This feels like a breakdown's coming. This is so sick. Ooh! Alright, guys, that was track 3, Pure as Fire. This one served me up, man. I'll tell you what, I was really vibing out with this one. This being the second longest track, I think they did a very good job of kind of, again, holding it all together in a 4-minute long track. The other thing I kind of really appreciated about it was the beginning portion of the song, and actually at the end as well, too. very much like a Tesseract-y sort of like syncopation to it. There's something about it that, again, really touched on a nerve. I'm a huge Tesseract fan. I love that band so much. I'm patiently awaiting next Tesseract album. I know it's coming soon. Or I don't know it's coming soon. I believe it's coming soon. I don't want, I don't want to say if it doesn't come out this year, I don't want to be the one to say it didn't come out this year, or I think it's coming out this year. Whatever, I digress. You know what I mean. Anyway, getting back to Purest Fire, it really kind of just has this sort of like, again, I feel like as if you meshed Tesseract, Void of Vision, and then maybe like Thornhill all in like one band, and that song feels like this song where it's just like this really weird like three family baby, in some way. I'm really doing a terrible job of these metaphors tonight, but it is what it is. Caught me on an off night. But I do feel like it kind of has those moments where it's like, all right, you can hear like the way that like maybe the more Void of Vision-y side of things with like the more synth, the like layering, kind of like allowing that open space to kind of come in. The Tesseract parts are a little bit more syncopated, a little bit more maybe like off time, stuff like that. And I think the Thornhill side of things is where like Hayden does kind of that sort of like very like smooth melodic kind of like flowy sound. I think more specifically you can hear a lot of that in that chorus portion of the song, especially like that melodic like line. It's not what you would expect, I think, from it's not what you would expect from an atypical kind of progressive metalcore band. Like I think it goes in a direction where where you would be like, oh, okay, like Purest Fire, you feel like he would kind of hit like maybe like the more straight and narrow, a little bit more of that kind of, again, plateau kind of thing. But I appreciate the fact that he almost went like, that where he went higher and kind of made it a little bit more interesting. I do feel like that helps out in regards to making songs a little bit more memorable, a little bit more interesting. And I feel like the chorus in this track, particularly for myself, really enjoyed it a lot. But I think all inclusively, I feel like I enjoyed this song the most thus far, just because it's got three of the bands that I mentioned before, all love them very much, and I think it kind of combines a lot of the best aspects of those bands and puts it into one track like this, but also kind of retaining that sort of In Fear styling. I think there's certain things, especially their drummer, I think he's fantastic in this song. There were some moments in the drumming parts where I don't know if you necessarily expect them to happen, but there was definitely some like fills throughout, I would say, the latter half of the track where as they were going on, you're like sitting there like, what is he going to do? All right, there's a little space. Is he going to fill the space? How is he going to go about it? And I feel like their drummer absolutely crushed it on some of these fills. There were some parts where I had no fucking idea where they were going to go with it, and they absolutely crushed it in that aspect. So love that. And I just think that this thus far has been the song that I feel like everyone in Fear kind of has a say or a moment within the track where you're like, shit, this is really cool. Like, and it all meshes well together in terms of their sound. I just really kind of love that overall, like, again, atmosphere that is brought within this track. It has this sort of ominous vibe as well, too, but I think it does, I do feel like it kind of, again, vibes with the whole aesthetic or sound of what In Fear is. It kind of pulls from All Is as well too, I think, with the sort of, again, the layering and such. I think it does a really good job of kind of building off of what was already there with All Is and kind of just, again, continuing that sort of train. And then even kind of listening to some of the singles, like, it was nice to know that, like, where these all are at comparatively in the album, because I think it gives you a little bit of a better idea. It just so happens that Trace My Skin and Doom Sequence are next to each other, but I feel like some of the other songs, like if they had released them as singles, I think they would have done well all on their own. But I think the context of the album makes them that much better. So I personally don't know what that is because I've only listened to two and they're right next to each other. But Pure as Fire, if that was one of the singles, then I think they absolutely crushed it with this one, because this one I think is a very good standalone track, but also meshes so well on the album, and I think it's a great follow-up to All Is. But we are going to move it on to track 4, which is Blinding White, or The Blinding White. So let's give this one a listen. Ooh! Oh my god. This is wild. What? Oh my god, that ending was insane. I was not expecting that. Guys, that was track 4, The Blinding White. This was a single. This apparently was the second single from their album cycle, which is interesting. I think this one, again, I'll probably make my final thoughts on this, obviously towards the end of the album, but this one I think does a pretty good job of giving you an idea of the band. I'd be curious to see which one was the first single that was released, because I think it'll probably give me a little bit of a better idea. But this one has way more screaming in it, which hey, I'll take it. I love a good song with more screaming in it. But this one has a little bit of a different vibe to it. I think they took a lot of interesting takes on this song. I appreciate the fact that everything is a little bit more open. It has this sort of, again, just like drenched in this like sort of like, I don't even know how to explain it really. It kind of has this way of just kind of filling out the room in such a way. Like, I'm listening to it on, I'd argue, on like pretty decently good headphones, but just like the way that it almost feels like you're sitting in a room and you're just like, obviously have like ear protection, because, shout out to ear protection, but it feels like there's something about this song that just kind of encapsulates you in it. Like the sound just kind of wraps around you in this way. And so I also have to give a lot of credit to who did the mix on it, which is George Lever. If you do not know him, he's done probably some of your favorite bands like Loathe. I know he also has done like Sleep Token stuff. He's practically like the person that you would expect that would kind of, again, do some of the mixes of justice, and has done a lot of great mixes across a bunch of different bands, but just absolutely crushes it. So big salutes to George Lever. But yeah, I think it kind of has this kind of openness to it. I appreciate the fact that this one has a lot more of Hayden screaming, because I imagine at the time, him being kind of the newest vocalist for the band, it could be definitely difficult to garner new fans, especially if, being a frontman, and we talked about it in the interview as well, being a frontman of a band. I was going to say interviewer, but that's what I am, I think, I'd argue. But just kind of, again, being a frontman of the band and having to replace someone else who was also the frontman of the band can be very difficult. And I think that this was a great track to kind of utilize not only Hayden's singing, even though I would say even in a smaller amount singing wise than there is screaming. And I think this one has a lot of range in regards to like kind of the screaming. There's some stuff that's a little bit more in that sort of like mid growl kind of range. There's some stuff that there's some really great lows on this track. I think again, Hayden does a great job of bringing in that sort of low end of the track with some really great like low screaming. So I absolutely love that as well. The chorus is very cool as well. I think, again, stylistically, I think Hayden has done a pretty good job thus far of creating some really unique, like, melodic lines in a track. Again, something that you wouldn't typically expect from In Fear, but I think it really works well in the context of this album and the way that he kind of does his vocal styling. So really appreciate that a lot. And again, this one just sounds massive, so I absolutely love this one for that reason alone. But yeah, there's this cool part. I think I'm pretty sure at that last breakdown, I'm pretty sure it's like reversed reverb, which is also really cool, and I like how it kind of, again, feeds into that breakdown. Really, really tight, and again, overall, just a really good song. I think it's a good song in regards to the singles that were released from the album, but I definitely was vibing out with this one a lot. I think it took me a little bit to get into, but once I was like really invested in it, and then I knew this was going to be a really good one, and I was certainly not wrong by that. So we are going to move it into track 5, which is Rest. So let's give that a listen. Interesting. Female vocals. Nice touch. I that's just Hayden. Holy shit. Oh, it might be. Holy fuck. That's some range. All right, guys, that was track number 5. That one is called Rest and is off of Infear's newest album, All Is, All Shall Be. You can check the links in the description if you'd like to go pick it up. I'm sure the boys would appreciate it. But this one, vastly different than the songs that preceded it. This one has way more of an eclectic sort of sound. I was going to say electric, but that was really not the word I was looking for. Eclectic is more appropriate. It is electric too as well. I don't want to discount that. But yeah, this one was definitely a different vibe. I think it allowed for Hayden to kind of branch off vocally, especially at that beginning part. That was some insanely high falsetto. It definitely, like I said, I kind of ate my words a little bit. I was like, man, that's a cool, clean female vocalist, clean vocals, and I was completely wrong by that. So I'm glad I corrected myself mid sentence. But I do feel like this one has more of a vibe to it. I think this one is pretty much like the Hayden show. A lot of the major focus of the track, I would argue, is more so on his clean vocals. But it does dynamically work well too. Especially after some of those really pristine, clean vocals. It's nice to hear just an absolute dummy thick breakdown at the end of the song. You can't help but love it in that way. So definitely think that that's great. As well as that, I really think that this one, Hayden got to show his got to stretch his vocal legs essentially. With all the songs that came before it, his clean vocals were awesome. Don't get me wrong, I like them, and I've liked them thus far, in the entirety of the album listen. But I think this one is where he really kind of shows off everything he's capable as a vocalist, and I think you got to give it a lot of credit because, first of all, it's one of the longest songs off the album, and as well as that, I just think that it does a very good job of just kind of giving you this sort of serene, sort of flowy sort of feel to it, almost like borderlines in that sort of shoegaze category. I think the only other band that I really feel like can kind of do that sort of sound pretty well, I would argue, is actually two bands. One, I think Stargazer does a great job, or not Stargazer, Mood Ring. I don't know why I think I was saying Stargazer because there's a local PA band called Stargazer, and that's what I was thinking of, but Stargazer's the album, Mood Ring's the band. But anyway, I digress. I feel like it really kind of gives me a little bit of a Mood Ring vibe as well. I think kind of again with those sort of ethereal vocals. I'd also say very similarly as well, like a Loathe, especially. This song feels like that two-way. It kind of gives you that two-way mirror sort of energy. It's got that really big kind of melodic, soft guitar riffs, and then once the chorus comes in, everything just kind of hits. So I definitely appreciate that a lot. I think dynamically it's fun. I would argue there really isn't any screaming in on this track. I would say a large majority, if not the entirety of it, is just singing. But I think there's probably little moments of screaming as well. But yeah, I think this one was really well put together. I don't know if it would be considered one of my favorites, but I think sonically it's really fun, and I think they're also trying to try stuff that's different, what works, what doesn't work, and I think that this one is a really good kind of, again, getting your toes wet, metaphorically, and really kind of immersing yourself in fear. So if you like more of the melodic end of their band spectrum, then I think this one's going to resonate more with you. If you're kind of in the middle, you like the heavier stuff, you like the more melodic stuff, then I think there's a good ground to be had on this track. And I think if you like more of the heavier stuff, I give it a listen. I don't know if it's necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but I think it does a really I think that Invere does a great job as a whole, as a band, kind of giving you a better idea of how some of these melodic moments really kind of, again, kick the song off. So really appreciate this one. Definitely a vibe, and from what I could tell in terms of streaming and stuff, I know that this song has been their most popular, and I would argue for good reason. I do feel like it probably gives you a bad summarization of the album in that way, just because I think if you listen to this one, you're gonna think it's this kind of again, moody sort of melodic album, when in fact it's a pretty, arguably thus far, has been a pretty heavy album. So overall, really enjoyed this one. This one was a good one, and I think a good rough midpoint. I know Remember Me is probably going to be the actual midpoint of this album, but I really enjoyed this one. Rest was really sick, and I can see why it's got that sort of acclaim. So we are going to move it on to track 6, which is Wither. So let's give this one a listen. Intro is tight. purchasing. All right, Hayden, let's go. That was hard. I like that. Guys, track 6, this one's called Wither. It's off of Infear's newest album, All Is, All Shall Be. This one was definitely a vibe. I like this one. I do want to apologize before if you caught me yawning. I got back from the gym and I thought it would be a good idea to listen to some like metalcore after going super hard, at the gym. Which was not a smart move in hindsight, but here we are, and I'm going to plug through this because I'm a real, I'm here for the music. So, I got to survive it out. But getting to the song itself, really kind of, really moody, really like kind of open. Again, I know I've been saying that a lot about a good majority of the tracks, but I think thematically I appreciate that all of the songs kind of have fit under this All Is, All Shall Be umbrella, where again it has some more like dark, brooding kind of undertones to the song. I think thus far that's kind of been the more consistent thing within the songs itself, is where I think not only lyrically it's a little bit darker, but I also feel like like kind of like the more ancillary kind of sounds that you hear on the album itself really give you a better darker kind of undertone to the album as a whole. So really appreciate that a lot. I think Hayden's vocals sound really tight on this track. This was one I believe wasn't one that was released as of the album dropping, so this is like a brand new song for everyone that has not checked them out. But I do think that the coolest thing about it were some of like the vocal melodies, the way that they were structured out in this song. Really, really cool, really interesting. And I also love the fact that it kind of again meshes well with like the instrumentation of the song. That breakdown at the end kind of again culminates all of those sort of like gnarly elements of this track and really put it super well in Wither. I think they do a great job of again having those sort of open moments where you listen to the song and you're like, okay, this is really cool atmospherically, and then they just kind of just like they just hit you at the knees, and then you're like on the ground because you're just getting absolutely berated by like an insane like musical breakdown or something like that. So I think structurally they know where to kind of put that breakdown for like if they kind of go a little bit more in that proggy, more experimental side of things. I still feel like they're going to get a lot out of it, and a lot from you as the listener from these songs, having again more of that sort of darker melodic undertones as well. I think it adds to again that overall atmosphere of the track and really allows you to feel those breakdowns just a little bit more, or feel those like really heavy moments of the song a little bit more, because I think if I've never personally been the person that's been about like the lyricism. I'm more of like the feeling, like you get the goosebumps on your arms, or like, I mean, the lyrics are still important, but I think when you find that nice crossroad of both and that shit just hits you like a 4-ton truck, like that's when you're like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? I feel like with these songs, it's like, yeah, they are probably lyrically depth, like they have a lot of lyrical depth, but at the same point, like I'm really kind of enjoying more of the instrumentals of the album. I will definitely be going back and listening to some of the stuff that again isn't just kind of like me doing a review and kind of giving my first thoughts on it. I do feel like much like anything else, it grows in time, and I feel like this song, while it is very good, I think it does have some room to grow as well. So very excited to see where this is going to be, but I enjoyed this one. Wither was great, and then we are going to move it on to track 7, which is Remember Me. So not the current Remember Me. This is a different Remember Me. So just in case, guys. It might be like an interlude, though. I wouldn't be surprised. I like this. Perfect song to kind of split the album up too. I like it. It is more of an interlude sort of track. I feel like this next song is going to be stupid heavy. Calling it now. All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is track 7, Remember Me, off of In Fear's newest album, All Is, All Shall Be. You can check the links below if you'd like to go pick it up. This one was nice. I think it kind of, again, very similarly to Shoreline. I don't think there's really much to talk about necessarily, but I do like that it really kind of offers this sort of palate cleanser. I oftentimes find with albums that are pretty decently long, and this one being 14 tracks, which is, obviously a very long album. I do feel like you do need songs like this that kind of break it up in that way for, people to kind of more easily digest the album. And I think it kind of, again, gives you that basis point. Because, like, even if you kind of stopped at more so every, like interlude sort of track, so you start off with Shoreline, and then, you would stop at Wither, and then Remember Me to, I don't know, probably, I'd probably say till the end, because it looks like it's a good clear cut halfway through the album. But yeah, I think it offers this unique styling that I feel like maybe you might not, or you might not really care about necessarily, but I think contextually, I appreciate the fact that it's there, not only for I would argue a little bit more of the melodic side of things. I don't know what is going on here. Oh, we're losing streaming power here. Dropping many frames. Oh boy. Oh, we're coming back, I think. Here we go. Oh, all right, we're good. I don't know what happened here. We dropped a lot of frames, but we're back. I feel like this kind of, again, has this sort of thought process of, again, having some more darker melodic moments, and then also at the same time kind of prefacing you for the next song, or, you know, the next feeling of the album. So I think there is, again, not too much to write home about, but just in case my internet just poops to bed, we are going to move it on to track 8, which is Virtue and Regret. So let's give it a listen. All right. This is so unique. Drum part, so cool. Oh. Alright, we're getting a breakdown. Alright. Oh, I feel it. Moving up. That was wild. Holy shit. Alright, guys. That was Virtue and Regret, track number 8 off of Infear's new album, All Is, All Shall Be. I'm going to go pick it up. Links below. But this one is a certified a certified hit, if you ask me. I like this. I would say thus far it is probably the more odd or more experimental sort of tracks than some of the other songs on their record thus far. Again, I've listened to Trace My Skin and Doom Sequence, but I have not listened to anything beyond that. So like Abyss, Narrow Gate, Cessation, and All Shall Be. So jury's still out. You know, there can be some more songs that are a little bit more experimental, but I would argue the point. I think I think thus far this one has been the more interesting one. I think it kind of again blends all of the weird oddities and that's not a dig to this band at all. I would hope not, because I'm really, this is, I would argue, is a compliment if anything else. But I think that the kind of odd choices of this song really make it shine and make it stand out. Like, there's some really cool like rhythmic patterns going on in this track. I think that there's a lot of play within the songs. Like, I think the coolest thing that I noticed about this song specifically is the way that some of the breakdowns hit, but then on top of that has some like really like serene and gorgeous and really beautiful clean vocals on top, and you're just like don't know what to do, because you're like, man, do I want to sing along to these like really cool like melodic lines, or do I want to just like headbang and just like, you know, just like air drum? You know, it really kind of mixes that like gray area. So what you really have to do is just like, you know, you have to be playing the drums and then also singing at the same time. I feel like that's the only way to go about it. And just kind of like the more flow that this song has, that I think some of the other ones, not that they didn't really sit well, this one was just like odd enough that it was like, oh man, okay, this is just crazy enough to work. And I think that that's kind of the vibe of this song, and I think that's kind of what sets it apart from the rest of the songs on the album. Because like, if I was to listen to this whole thing, there might be songs that I'm like, okay, maybe I misrepresented this song and it might have been some other song. I feel like with Virtue and Regret, this is one song where like you go into it and you know exactly what you're getting into it, because it's like the one like oddball kind of song that really just, again, shouldn't work on paper but does work in that way. I love the kind of, again, more ethereal layering going on in this track. There's a lot of cool synths going on, but I think some of the hooks and some of like the vocal patterns and some of like the rhythmic patterns as well, mixed with the vocal lines, I just think it kind of, again, encapsulates those weird oddities that In Fear brings to like this progressive metalcore styling of music. And thus far I've been kind of impressed, because I think sometimes, like, especially like progressive metalcore, you're like, okay, cool, we can play, like, that's a really crazy riff, like, that's awesome. And like, that's not to discount any bands that do that, because I love those too. But I think sometimes when you allow those moments or those parts in a song to speak more, just because they're a little bit more open, they're a little bit more, you know, upfront, I do appreciate that. Also, I'm losing frames. How am I losing frames? I don't get it. What am I doing? What's going on? All right, we're back. All right, cool. I don't know what's going on here. We'll do what we can here. But yeah, I really like this one a lot. I would say thus far, this one, I think, along with Purest Fire, I would say are probably my two favorites. All Is, I think, is also up there as well. But hey, listen, we got a couple more heat or tracks, so you know, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. So but yeah, really enjoy this one a lot. I think if you're looking for something a little bit different or a little bit out there, then this is the go-to for sure. But let's get it on to track number 9, which is Trace My Skin. So let's give it a listen. Oh, I forgot how good this one was. the vocal layering. I love this. This is so sick. It's not growing so hard. I love it. Alright, guys, that was track number 9, Trace My Skin, off of In Fear's newest album, All Is, All Shall Be. I enjoyed this one a lot. I think when I originally listened to it, I also really enjoyed it, so much so, obviously, to have the band on. But I think what really kind of sold me on this song was just kind of the guitar work. Again, most people know I'm a guitar player at heart, but I think that I could never write something like this. So whenever I hear it from other artists, it just kind of shows how much like skill and dedication that you can have to an instrument. Especially to just kind of mesh up super well with their drummer, and how kind of locked in you have to be for that to kind of work out in that way. So I do really appreciate that, as well as that I just think that this song is, I would argue, like more guitar driven. I think that a lot of the like really interesting rhythmic patterns and stuff like that, I think, are really dictated more so by how the guitars work, and like everything kind of feeds off the guitars in that way. And I think that what also kind of sold me on this song as well is just the way that Hayden kind of just flows so beautifully over this track. He just has this way of just adding this like kind of ethereal texture to the track. Like there's something about it where like his vocals have this sort of, again, like I don't even know, it's kind of got like this almost like ghostly sort of like wispy sort of like sound to it, you know. I feel like it's really hard to explain, but like it's like higher up in the range. I would say like maybe like mid, like high to like maybe like borderline like falsetto-y sort of range, but it just kind of fits higher up in that sort of melodic stance in the song. The guitars kind of hit that mid tone, and then obviously the drums and the bass kind of hit that low tone, which is, you know, I feel like most bands kind of do that generally. But the way that the kind of the play within the song itself, I think, really kind of lends itself more to having those really kind of ethereal vocal parts, and it really makes for the songs the song structure to be interesting and more fun. So I think I appreciated this one a lot. It was, again, something that I really hopped into right away, and just kind of gave me those moments where I was just really excited to continue listening to In Fear and what they're able to bring to the table. The breakdown was super gnarly in this track as well too. But yeah, thus far all of the songs have been really, really, really good. And I think if you are kind of more in those prog centralist kind of like metalcore sound, and you really like bands like Invent Anime or like Currents or like, God, I'm trying to think who else kind of has like Era, like those sorts of bands, like even a little bit more faster shit. I think that this is going to be kind of like an all-encompassing band. It hits all of those sorts of, no pun intended, hits all of those notes very similarly to kind of a Tesseract. I know there's also some vibes of that within the album, and I really love that because I'm a big Tesseract fan, as I mentioned before. So really vibing out with this one, and to no surprise to anyone, because this was like the first song that I listened to and really, again, got me in the In Fear camp. So I'm really stoked that I can come back and revisit it, because I hadn't listened to it since I had the guys on. And so that's been a couple months, like, no, not a couple months, maybe like a month, maybe roughly, I would say. So yeah, very excited. Also excited to release the interview. So if you have a chance to check that out, I'll leave links when it goes live. So check that one out. But we are going to move it on to the next track, which is Doom Sequence. And this one's track 10. So let's give it a listen.
But you look at it, it's just like you bruise.
god, that ending crushes. Fuck, man. So sick. Alright, guys, that was track 10, Doom Sequence, off of In Fear's new album, All Is, All Shall Be. So, I really enjoyed this one. This was the second single that I checked out, I believe. And, you know, actually, maybe not. I don't know if I actually listened to this one. No, I didn't. This was the first time I listened to it. I thought for sure I had listened to Doom Sequence. Maybe, you know what? Actually, I did listen to a little bit of it. I know that they posted a clip to their Instagram, so I did check this one out, but not entirely. Which is great because I think this one absolutely slaps. And I'm so glad I listened to it right now. I mean, obviously I will listen to it anyway because I'm listening to the entire album, but I digress. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. Really great energy. I love the fact that I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they're using like a Digitech whammy guitar pedal to kind of like down tune even more, because I'm pretty sure they're already down tuned, so they're just down tuning more. And just that last like breakdown where I don't even know what tuning they're in, but it just sounds like just disgusting. Like there's just something about it that just like, man, I can hear the filth, you know. And so I appreciate the fact that is what it is. The chorus, again, really, I think they've really been crushing it with the choruses, honestly. And this one was very different. I think, like, some of the vocal melodies that Hayden goes about choosing, and I almost sound like a broken record just saying it all the time, but really is the truth. Like, some of the ways that his vocal styling, in terms of like melodies and stuff, I feel like he chooses like the atypical route. He doesn't choose things that you would expect. Like I feel like at certain points, especially listening to as much metalcore and like heavy adjacent albums I've listened to in such a long period of time, I think sometimes you kind of expect a band to do something, and when they don't do it exactly the same way that you would imagine it to, you're like, wow, this is crazy, right? And I feel like with this whole album, like, there has been this kind of subversion of expectation where you're like, okay, this is where I feel like the melody is gonna go, just based off of intuition. And I think that they try to switch it up, try to do it differently, like he goes up and then kind of like lands down, like it's almost as if he overshoots and then compensates. So I appreciate the attention to detail in that in and of itself. I know I really haven't been talking a lot about Hayden screaming, but I feel like this song was really a good really good indicator of how well his screaming has gotten. And I think this one just has a great melodic chorus that you can really latch onto, but also at the same point, I think this one has some really, really stupid heavy moments. Like, I was throwing down in my chair and I was really feeling this one. So I like this one a lot. This one was great. And I think if you haven't listened to In Fear, I think this one and Trace My Skin are probably the best two in terms of like new listeners, if you want to kind of get more of a well-rounded appeal. I'd say Doom Sequence if you're really into the like more of the heavier stuff, and I'd say Trace My Skin if you're a little bit more melodic and you like to get into that lane. So but yeah, like this one. I think Doom Sequence probably is going to end up in my top 5, but we still got a couple more. So we'll go into track 11, which is Abyss, and I believe this was the first single that came out. So very excited to get into this one, and let's see what this one's all about. Abyss, track 11. I was going to say 10. Track 11. Ooh, the switch up vocally? Alright. is so chaotic. I love it. I feel like something big's coming. What the fuck? Oh, what a transition. What? Holy shit. What the hell was that ending? Oh my god. What? Okay, they're really like throwing all the bag of tricks at me here tonight, and I love that. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is track 11, Abyss, off of In Fear's newest album. All is, all shall be. All of the links will be in the description. I totally didn't rhyme that, but it does sound cool. And I felt like I kind of spit bars a little bit there. So if you think I spat bars, hit that thumbs up. That was a terrible way for you guys to check out. That was a terrible way to solicit a thumbs up, but I'll take it. Because I'll take any compliment I can get right now. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. I think this one might be one of the, I would say very similarly to maybe like similarly to like Virtue and Regret. I think this one is arguably just a little different. You know, it doesn't feel like what you kind of expect. It has some moments where you're like, okay, it's gonna go like this. And then the way that they kind of switch it up every time was really interesting. I love that kind of like two-step moment in like the first verse. Really just kind of gave me that sort of vibe. And, you know, your boy loves a good two-step. So definitely like digging that. I think the biggest thing that kind of threw me off about this track, but like also is something that I really endear about the track as well, was just the difference of how strange the verses compared to like the choruses are. Because like you think about how like aggressive and fast-paced everything is in the verses of Abyss, and then once you get to the chorus of Abyss, like everything opens up. It becomes a little bit more melodic. It's a little bit more like vibey, a little bit darker tonality wise, and I think that the song itself really does have that sort of darker tonality as well, but you can really hear it because like especially in the chorus, like everything gets drowned out. It really kind of becomes like super dense in that way. And I think that's what really kind of really just sucks you in with this track. And then just like there was just some really cool, like, I don't want to say Easter eggs, but there was just really cool parts that, like, especially the ending portion of the song, that was really interesting. I think the bridge of this track was also really cool as well, too. I just think that they really subvert your expectation, again, of what you feel like is going to happen, and then they don't follow what you feel like is going to happen. I think that's what really kind of intrigues me and what kind of continues for me to recommend listening to this album, because I think some of the singles, like, if you listen to them, you're like, I don't know, but like really kind of contextually, if you listen to Abyss, right, and you don't listen to the rest of the In Fear album, like it's really not gonna make sense. You're just gonna be like, wow, okay, this is like an aggressive song, and just like has some really cool like stupid crushing riffs, but also at the same point like it's got this really interesting like melodic like chorus, and it wouldn't give you that same sort of expectation you would expect as opposed to like being put in an album and then you listen to Doom Sequence before that, and then obviously we're gonna listen to Narrow Gate after this. Like it gives you a better idea of like where the frame of reference is, and as well as that, I think it gives you a better idea on like the overall sound that Inferior brings, which is just kind of like, again, pulling from like a bunch of different aspects of progressive metalcore, but also like kind of, again, trying to find spots where it fits best for them as well too. But yeah, Abyss, great track. I think this one will definitely be pretty high up there. I don't know if it will be the top one, but you know, we'll see how it goes. But I really enjoyed Abyss a lot. So we are going to move it on to the next track, which is going to be Narrow Gate, and it's track 12. This riff bombs though. Ooh, I like this as like just drums and bass and vocal. Interesting. Ooh, sick vocal layering. Sounds massive. I feel like something big's gonna happen. Ooh, what is his time signature? This is so disgusting. Oh, that was wild, guys. That was track 12, Narrow Gate, from In Fear, their new album. All Is, All Shall Be. This one was, oh man, you know, I think they've been really hitting me with like the more interesting, more out there sort of tracks, and I appreciate the complexity of Narrow Gate. I think very similarly to maybe Abyss, which is a song that preceded it, as well as Virtue and Regret. I think they did a really great job of kind of stepping out of their comfort zone in terms of the more like syncopated riffs, different time, like really odd time signatures. I don't even think I could have counted it in time at that moment, but definitely not 4/4, which is like the atypical kind of like beat, So I'm not gonna teach you guys that. You guys can look that up. But I think I really enjoyed this one a lot. There was definitely some moments where I thought for sure it was gonna kind of like there's maybe gonna be some cool like cymbal hits or something like that, but didn't really kind of pan out that way. And I'm honestly glad it didn't, because I think it really kind of suspends your disbelief in some of the songs. Like I think what I really enjoyed about this song was just kind of like those moments of quiet where you're like, okay, something's gonna hit, and just the way that they transferred into the song just really works out super well. So really enjoyed this one a lot. I think vocally it was also very interesting as well. A lot of kind of minor dissonant sort of sounding stuff. I know that's something that they've been toying with heavily on this album, but I think it really kind of meshes well with the like off timing, like kind of more progressive styling of the album. And I think, again, I know I reference this a lot, but just more of the darker undertones. I think it meshes well with that sort of sound and vibe. So really enjoyed this one a lot. I think very similarly to Virtue and Regret, it has this kind of really cool, again, play to the song, and I think they do a great job of not only keeping the song interesting, but also at the same time like really keeping it interesting for like the instrumentals as well. I think they absolutely crushed it on this song. So really enjoyed this one. Narrow Gate, give that one a listen if you haven't, especially if you're more so in that, like, again, heavier category. I think you're really going to vibe out with that one a lot. But we are going to move it on to track 13, which is Cessation. I'm pretty sure I pronunciated that right. If I didn't, let me know in the comments below. But let's get into it.
Cessation!
Oh! This is tight. Oh, what's up with these drums? This is giving me like old Northlane vibes. Like Singularity, Discoveries.
I have lost my place. My connection to life. Yes, on eternity. The gods, they cherish long lake. The perfume of sulfur. In the valley of Jehannam.
The drumming on this is wild. If you're a drummer, you should check this song out. Oh! So sick. yeah, definitely old like vibe with this one. What great lyrics. All right, Hayden. All right, respect the drip. Guys, that was track 13, Cessation, off of All Is, All Shall Be by the band In Fear. If you haven't checked them out, links below. Also doing an interview with them. It's already done. It'll be posted next week. I hope you check it out. It was a very fun time, and they kind of go a little bit more in detail is in All Is, All Shall Be, so it'll be a perfect time for you to do a recap. But yeah, this one, kudos. You know, I think if you are a drummer, you're gonna absolutely love this track. I think you're gonna have an absolute field day with this one. As well as that, gave me heavy like old North Lane vibes. You know, almost like, you know, I could hear some moments of like a World Eater. You know what I'm saying? So Discoveries, you know, you ever heard of that? You know, so it kind of gave me that sort of vibe, which I love. Talk about a great era, North Lane. Not that I don't love the new stuff. I absolutely love the new stuff as well too. But you know, different strokes for different folks. You know what they say. But yeah, I think this one was a really just like open, just stupid, like just it's everything that you kind of know and love from like that metalcore styling, you know, especially in that prog world, man. I'll tell you what. But yeah, this one was really cool. I think the thing that surprised me the most was Hayden screaming on this one. Absolutely crushed it. Some of these lows were like had some real cojones on them, and I like that, you know what I mean? So I appreciate it. The layering on this track, I'm telling you guys, I know I'm like I know I'm shouting at the moon a little bit, but for real, like layering, so good. Harmonies, great. Screams over cleans, good. Cleans over screams, great. You know, like they're, oh man, you know, I like some of the best stuff has great layering, and I think, you know, In Fear definitely has some great shit, so not surprised in the slightest. But yeah, Cessation, really fun, really riffy. I will say, like, tempo-wise, it was definitely a little bit on the slower side, which is completely fine. I think it just kind of allows those, like, you know, those moments to breathe just a little bit more. So really do appreciate it. But yeah, overall, really fun track, and just, again, stupid heavy. If you're really into the heavier stuff, then you're absolutely gonna vibe out with the song 1000%. So we are going to move into the final song. I know, shed a tear, guys, but listen, I do this all for the boys, and you know, I wanted to let you know the boys in Fear have a new album that you're listening to right now. So if you've been joining me for this time period, much love all of you. But they have a new album, All Is, All Shall Be, links in the description, which is ironic because this last track is All Shall Be, the final track of the album. So let's give it a listen, and then after that, gonna go through my thoughts on All Shall Be, and then on top of that, I'm gonna let you know my favorites off the album, so you know what's going on. So let's get into the last one, guys. I like that, like, really reverberated guitar in the background. Bass is really noticeable in this track as well too. so tight.
No more regret, years of self-hate. I'm now consolidated. Consolidated.
This is so sick. I'm so glad I listened to this live. So tight. Shout out to the boys. Man, that crack of the snare. That was sick. Goes hard. Yeah, I like it. All right, guys. That was the final track of In Fear's newest album, All Is, All Shall Be. You know, I had like a miniature stroke right there trying to figure out the name of it, but I knew what it was. So that's really what that's really where the magic happens. But yeah. I think this song was really tight. I think it kind of, again, sends off the album in a really nice way. A little bit more softer. You know, it does. I mean, I don't want to discount it. You know, it is heavy as well. But I would say, you know, it does have a lot more melodic moments, which I appreciate. Kind of, again, hearkening back to some of the more melodic tracks on this album, but I also think it pays homage to some of the heavier ones, which, you know, that's all you can do when you have a final track on an album. You want to be able to show off the range and skills of the artist, and I feel like this album does a really great job of highlighting some of the heaviest moments of the band, but also some of the more melodic moments as well. I think this song is no shortage of that as well. Really like Hayden's vocals. I think that was kind of the common thread that really holds this band together. Obviously, being a vocalist, you know, that's I feel like that's kind of a little bit of par for the course, you know, for artists in that way. But, you know, I think he does a really interesting way of not only making the songs really intriguing to listen to, but also in the same way that it's not what you expect. Like, you would kind of expect certain things, like melody wise, and I think for the sheer reason why he doesn't go in a specific direction vocally, you know, like I feel like he does pick a path, certainly, but I do feel like there is something about it where, you know, you're listening to the song and what you would kind of expect melodically what should happen next, he doesn't do. And I think that's what kind of really makes the whole listening process through this album very fun, because it's like, okay, you expect one thing but get something completely different, and I think that makes everybody's listening experience that much better, because it kind of breaks those boundaries. You know, again, it has a melodic dissonance in some spots where you're like, okay, that's really cool. I would say the vocal layering throughout the entire album is really great, and I think it just shows off the range and skill of the band as well, because I think a lot of the times where you have stuff that is super layered, it's like it can get a little overwhelming, but I think with this band, they do a great job of trying to add layers to add depth, but not add too much layers for it to not seem like it's like overbearing or too much or whatever. I think there's just a nice Goldilocks zone of that as well. I think the guitar riffs are really solid from both of their guitarists. I only met Ryan, unfortunately, so big salutes to their other guitarists and obviously Ryan as well. The riffs on this were on point. I think Cessation was just a really fun, just stupid, like, open riff, and I like that. All Shall Be, this one was also really another fantastic guitar track as well. But I think this shows off everything from like the little bit of slow, like really like the joke, you know, play the song, like play the breakdown, but like slower. It kind of gives me that sort of vibe, but also like they have the technical prowess to back it up as well. So I think that's I think they kind of hit that medium point between like technicality, but also like really fun, like dumb oonga boonga riffs. You know what I'm saying? So I love that. Their bass player is really solid. I think really good a really good excerpts into that. I would say like All Shall Be, some of the more melodic tracks I think really do a great job of highlighting more of that bass tone. But I'd also say as well, like a lot of the breakdowns would probably not sound equally as chunky without some like dumb bass. So really appreciate the fact that it just makes these songs really well rounded and really just really dynamically and musically palatable in that way. So I really absolutely love that. And I think their drummer, hella underrated on this album. I think there were some really cool, unique fills. And I think with a band that has a lot of technicality behind it, you also have to have somebody behind the throne with the equal, if not more so, technical prowess that Infear's drummer has. So I think he definitely had a hard time, I would imagine, but the fruits of his labor absolutely crushed it. So absolutely love that. And then obviously I mentioned Hayden, but I'll do it again. I think he has such a unique voice, not only sort of on the clean sides, but as well as the screaming. The screaming is really great. I know a lot of the stuff that I highlighted was more so of the clean singing, but I would have got to say, like, his screams are equally as good, and especially his lows. Lows are super gnarly on this as well. And I think it really, again, shows how crucial it is to have such a good like mix on a song, or like a master on a song, because like George absolutely crushed it on this entire album, and you can really hear a lot of depth. So really appreciate that. I would say some of my favorite songs are All Is, Pure as Fire. I would say Virtue and Regret. I'd probably put Doom Sequence as the last one, and then my honorable mention, I'd say Abyss. But they're all great, really rhythmically fun, interesting tracks. I think musically also very interesting if you're more into like really just unique, clean vocals as well. Very like higher range, very like melodic. And then again, I think they borrow a lot from bands like Thornhill, North Lane, Tesseract, like those types of proggy, like Invent Animate as well. I just think they kind of have this well-rounded thought in that genre, but don't specifically sound like them. So I would highly recommend listening to this from front to back. I think it's going to give you the best representation of the album as a whole, and just the band. I think they really crushed it on this album, and I really feel like, for me personally, they deserve that love and that support. So please, if you can, go pick up the album, go do it. If you can go pick up a shirt, that'd be really sick as well. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So let me know in the comments below what your favorite songs are. Would love to know. Have you heard of In Fear before? Are you going to go check them out now? That would be sick. Go show them some love if you could. And if you enjoyed this live video, thank you for watching. I have a couple more that I'm doing. I do have a couple reaction videos. I don't know if I'll necessarily do them tonight because it's almost midnight here on the East Coast. But I will definitely be doing some more live reaction videos or reviews. Two I have on the docket right now are my roommate suggested I should listen to the Baby Metal album, and I have listened to two of the songs and I really enjoyed them a lot, so I will definitely be getting around to listening to the new Baby Metal album live on here for your guys' enjoyment. And then the other one, the Sleep Sculptor album, Divine Recalibration, they're out on tour now. Go see what's up to them. They're crossing all over the states, so if you can go say what's up, that'd be really sick. But yeah, overall, got a couple few more, and if you have any suggestions for albums you'd love to see me review in the future, let me know down in the comments. I would love to check those out. But thank you guys for watching. I'm super sweaty and a little bit tired, so I'm gonna peace out. But I love all of you. Thank you for watching this. Please go support In Fear. I want to give a shout out to Savior Management as well. James is the man. He's rad. I love him. And yeah, go check them out. In Fear. Love those guys. Interview coming out next week. That's it. So Love you guys. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.